Okay. All right. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I'm Melissa Hamilton. I'm the technical director at OnPoint Tech Solutions. We're a consulting firm here in the Valley. I always laugh every time I see this slide because that number that says 15 plus years, it used to have a different number on there, and I just changed it to a plus because I felt a little more comfortable about that. I have been in SharePoint since before SharePoint was called SharePoint. I am old enough for that, but barely. I was in the Air Force, and a general was like, hey, I have a pet project. Hey, you one striper airman that has a really nicely pressed uniform, you look like a good person for the job. So took this 1989 piece of junk server and turned it into a server for SharePoint, at the time SPS. Fast forward to today, the entire DoD uses it. So some people hate me, some people love me. So whatever, some of my friends that are still in, they're like, sorry, I got out, so bye. I really like where I guess get my excitement is in user adoption strategies, and like just really, my first job coming out of the Air Force into the civilian world was in a bank. And I had to convince bankers to go from filing cabinets and papers and all that stuff to like trusting our technology and our servers and our SharePoint. It'll be okay, I promise. It's not like it'll be okay. That was really hard in the banking environment. But I found that to be quite the challenge, I guess, and I really like a challenge. So I like to try to find unique ways to get my users excited about what's coming down the road. So we'll talk about that today. SharePoint solutions development end-to-end. Basically, as with most SharePoint people, you wear every hat. I don't know what your guys' titles are, but you're all here, so everybody has some kind of SharePoint something, right? And when you're doing SharePoint, you're not just a developer, you're not just an admin, you're not just a site owner, you're a little bit of everything usually. And that has absolutely been my entire career. It's like, oh, you know SharePoint? Oh, then you can just make magic happen, right? Rainbows and butterflies every day. I recently, this year, found a passion for blogging and conference speaking. So this is kind of all new to me, and I've really been enjoying it. So there'll be a link at the end as well for my blog. Shenanigans, shenanigans, I don't know, I like the whole Super Trooper scene about Farva, like it's gonna get pistol whipped. Yeah, anyways, that's my favorite, it's like my favorite movie. So I'm the Shenaniganator, and I cause a lot of shenanigans, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So I just like to share all of my mishaps and misfortunes with everybody. My favorite quote, this is not mine, but my favorite thing is that Office 365 is more of a culture. It's not just an application, it's not just technology, it's a culture. It is this whole new way of life, this whole new way of thinking. Everybody needs to kind of shift, right? Like where it's like this application does this and this application does that, and we're coming from this era where everything was in silos, and now Office 365, it's like, oh, what, everything's connected, which is everything, right? Like social media, like everything is all interconnected, so our business world needs to adapt to that, and Office 365 is leading the way for us. And we need to change this picture in the slide because it's enormous on these projectors. Every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, yikes. All right, so I just want to know, because I don't want to sit here and explain to you what Microsoft Teams is if you guys are all already using it or if everybody already knows. So just to give me like a little bit of an idea, are we? And then you can let me know where people are at on the chat. So just kind of let us know where you fall. Are you thinking about it, beginning adoption? Did you try to roll it out and failed? Because that's where I find a lot of people are at. And they're like, oh, no, will you help us? Nope, I'm just kidding. Or are you just here soaking it up and trying to decide if you want to take this leap of faith? So first, are you just thinking about it? Just kind of give me thinking about it. Nobody's just thinking about it. Oh, this could be scary. Let me skip to the end. Is anybody just soaking up the info? Uh-oh. Okay. This could be.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're a little like toe in the soaking up the info. Okay, all right. Beginning adoption. Very early, okay? Very early? Or are you on the verge of failed adoption?
No, I'm the guy that's been with the megaphone and everybody saying shut up, we like Skype.
Oh.
And we like Slack.
And did you laugh at them when Microsoft announced in 2021 it's going away?
I did, and they're still resistant, but they're not going to have any choice pretty soon.
They got to do something. It's coming. It's coming. Where are you?
We have our UTO technical days who is still holding on to team sites.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to push teams in.
Okay.
And then above their head, ASU decided to buy the contract from Slack and incorporate that across the university. So then they don't allow any new team sites to be created.
Okay. Fun. All right.
So a little twist is on my side. Internally at Catapult. Catapult's a consulting firm, and we deliver teams to companies and help them adopt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so internally it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? What you do for others is not what you do for yourself in consulting, and that's just the nature of it. But Teams has been adopted. People are using it. Where we're at right now is trying to pull the reins and control the chaos a little bit, trying to govern.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what I'm doing is building, like, it's a combination of Power App and Flow to help govern teams.
I have a governance template that I am linking to you guys right here today. So
That's fine.
that's where you're at. Where are they at on chat?
Naveen is typing a message. but he
Okay.
hasn't finished yet, so
We'll
I'll let
see.
you know.
All right, let me know. All right, so so at least nobody's at failed adoption. I feel okay. Because you're on Skype? Okay. Okay. All right.
We're not at the same place.
You're not at the same place. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I figured you spoke up first.
Yeah, yeah.
We were at the same place. We are actually just starting to migrate our exchange over to Office 365.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're doing it at the same time that we went to a system that we're trying to pull all of our HR stuff into Active Directory.
Oh.
So it's a nightmare right
All
now.
at the same time.
Oh, yeah, because that's.
Are you a big organization?
Oh, I'm with a school district.
Okay.
So-
Oh.
Sure, I would say we have 21 schools in our district, so
Yeah.
I say we're pretty big, but it's just this really poor rollouts.
The planning. I will tell you, school districts, I have and maybe you have a different experience, but I have found that school districts and government in general, rollouts are the worst. Like just in general.
They're 7
Just
years too late.
always.
They don't like to change, no. They
Right.
love the paper.
Yes.
They absolutely don't know how much they love paper.
Much like bankers. Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
one
even
more
the university, same way.
Oh, yep. Okay. The university. Okay.
Naveen Online says users started using it when the app became available in the app launcher.
Oh no.
We started having issues with users being unable to sign into both Skype and Teams. So then we immediately shut down Teams 4 o'clock.
Whew. All right.
Things where a button showed up and people were like, what's that?
What's that?
And then chaos.
Okay. I was gonna. I'll talk about that in a minute. That reminds me of when Moss came around, and site owners became a really big thing. But I'll get to that story in a minute. Okay, so in short, it's funny, the first time I went to write a blog about Microsoft Teams, I'm like, let's just get, like, I just want to know, generally speaking, how is it being defined, right? And I Google it. Hub for teamwork, teamwork hub, teamwork for hub of teamwork. Like, it was like all these same words all over the place. So apparently this is our hub for teamwork, okay? Office 365 in general is giving us this huge toolbox to use, and these tools that they're releasing are very feature rich. And the places that they lack, they're continually improving, like literally by the week. Like, I get an email, there's you can sign up for your subscription, and it tells you like every time there's new updates in your Office 365, and then like every week there's updates to something in the subscription. So there's always things changing. Wherever there's a gap, just be patient because it's likely on the roadmap. You can always find the roadmaps out there. The cloud is kind of the new way of thinking. So in my years in IT, I've seen and I've heard that even before me, this has always been a cycle where it's like there's cycles in IT. So for instance, one cycle was we're going to have everybody offshore. Oh, now we're going to bring all of our IT resources in country, right? And we're going to have everybody in-house. Then there was, then there's another trend where I can't even think of what the second example is that I have right now. But now our trend is we're all going to the cloud, right? Everybody's going to the cloud. And more and more services are being provided to you only at a cloud level. So those enterprise-wide organizations that, large organizations, Fortune 500 companies that are, backing off and are terrified to go to the cloud, they are hitting a point where they have to buy into that technology because services aren't being provided unless it's on the cloud. So Microsoft's doing the same. We're going to the cloud. The applications that they're providing us at the cloud are feature rich, and they're doing a pretty darn good job of making sure that they're fixing those bugs as it's coming out and as they're being identified, unlike in the past where they would wait and then there'd be this huge update, right? And then it would break everything and everything that everybody's built to band-aid what their problem was. And now they're actually getting these updates out and fixing these things quickly. So don't be afraid. Then the biggest thing, I kind of took my glory here that it's been all over everywhere that Skype is now for sure 2021 going away. That was on my slides before they actually gave the date. Dang it, they took my glory. But it is going away. There will be support. I have heard that the support, this is just things that I've heard, the support model for Skype will also be deprecated a lot quicker than historically in other, should I say InfoPath, right? That was going away 12 years ago.
That's a fun one to recall.
Yes. So anyway, so I've heard, I don't know how true that is. I've heard that through the grapevine that it is going to go away faster. The support's going to go away faster. So the idea is basically they're forcing us to Teams. So we need to just be ready for it. Gonna do kind of the who, what, where, when, why. Who can use Teams, who should use Teams, and why. So right now, I don't know about you guys, but when I log in, I work from home. So I get up in the morning and I get my tea and I go and I sit at my computer. The first place I go is Outlook. Does anybody else stop anywhere else before Outlook? No, I didn't think so. It's always Outlook, right? You read those emails, you check your calendar, what's my day look like, then you check your tasks, and then, whoops, here's an IM, here's another email, oh, now I gotta go to a meeting. And then you're from your Outlook and you're just, that's where you start, and then your day just goes, right? How long have we heard, in IT, have we heard, stop taxing the Exchange servers, quit sending mass emails, quit, everything gets lost in email. In my other job, my corporate job, our emails aren't permanent. They go away. And so like you save something for knowledge purposes and you're like, oh, where did that, oh, it's deleted, shoot, So now I just offload everything to OneNote, and that's a mess too. So it's for another day. So instead of using Outlook, instead of sending these emails, think of Teams as your launch pad. Teams is your place to get started. We're gonna talk in a little bit. I'm gonna show you how to what your meetings look like in Teams, and why you want to start your day in Teams. Teams, we can connect it to Help Desk. We could, if you have say Zendesk or Jira, you can open up your Teams. You can have a tab that takes you right to that. Everything Teams, think of Teams kind of as your gateway. Okay, it's your gateway to your Office 365 and apps and anything else you plug into it. But just think of it as your gateway to Office 365. So when someone's in Teams, they are only going to see what they already have access to in Office 365. It's security trimmed. So the back end of Teams is SharePoint. So everything that is stored in Teams is actually stored on a SharePoint site. So just as a SharePoint admin would just go change the permissions and lock down, you can still have workflows on those document libraries, all of that stuff. It is SharePoint in the back. So it's security trimmed. They're only going to see, even if they're searching in Teams and they're like, oh, Joe told me to go search for the ultimate guide to Teams adoption, but he doesn't have access to it. He's not gonna. Even if he has the name of the file, he won't see it because it's security trimmed. What is Teams? I kind of already told you. It is your new launchpad. It's going to be your new way of life, your new culture, your new place to live, eat, and breathe during your workday. It is the back end of Teams. So Teams is replacing Skype, and everyone, is like, oh no, and now you're telling me I have to live in this because Skype sucks, right? The calls are awful. Calls drop all the time. Meetings drop. Did we drop right now? No.
Presentation is blank right now.
Oh, Skype, the presentation's blank. I didn't do that on purpose, by the way. As I'm talking about Skype fails.
We should all start using Teams. I'm just kidding.
Actually, I was going to suggest.
We should. Every time I try to open Skype, it's like, your business is on Teams. Do not open the desktop app. And I'm like, just calm down. I've got it under control. It's like trying not to let me use it.
There's one guy that's
So happy.
I was a few years younger.
Okay. It says you're presenting it.
It's back up now.
You can see it?
Yep.
But can you see it when I click on it?
Got two screens again. One's black and one's got your slide. That one's fine. Now it's just the one.
Okay. All right, we're back. All right. Let's see. Where can we use Teams? All right, we can use Teams in the mobile. It's actually very feature-rich in the mobile device. We're going to do a little demo later. He'll be on the mobile, and I'll be on the desktop app. So desktop app is another option. And the third option is in the browser. You guys, I hope you don't throw your pizza at me right now, but I'm going to tell you that the Edge experience is actually really good. So I know that that browser is not anyone's favorite, but if
it's honestly awesome since they've done a lot of upgrades to it. I've given them a chance. And I've completely shut out Google Chrome, which was my favorite, and I'm now Firefox, but I have Edge and I have the beta version of it as well, and it's actually pretty fast. It's up there with Google and Firefox now. They're doing a good job.
Yeah, it's really good, and with the Teams experience, they have the video capability in the browser now and everything. It is really good. So if you're in an organization, don't be afraid to use Edge. It really, I promise, is a good experience. And why would I use Teams? I mean, what I really want to ask is, if you're still hesitant, is why wouldn't you? Silence, crickets, I love it. They want us to use Slack. Yeah, unfortunately, that's a battle I don't choose to fight. That's tough. That is tough. So I just kind of threw a whole lot of words at you. So I threw this slide in here just to kind of give you the tidbits that really matter. Know that it's all security trimmed. So any time that you're viewing something from another 365 application, whatever that native application is and whatever those permissions are, that is what will be viewed in Teams. Public versus private. I don't know if anyone's seen the news about private Teams channels. That's a new thing. I will tell you that a couple things. You can invite people to it. People can be in your team, but just because they've accepted and they're in it, you don't have any way to keep them in that team. People can leave your team at any point in time. That's a voluntary thing. There's not a way at this point in time, at least, to put a policy. So you can't opt out. So just know that, okay? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. It really depends. So when you create a Microsoft team, when you're in Microsoft Teams and you're a team administrator and you create a new team, it will create your Office 365 group. You're going to get all just straight by clicking create this team. You're going to get an Office 365 group, a SharePoint site, you're going to get Planner, you're going to get a OneNote, you're going to get a Wiki, maybe something else. You get a whole bunch of stuff.
Mailbox?
Mailbox if you get it from Teams, yes, yep.
There should be a stream group as well.
A stream, yep. So all the things, right?
So when you start the team, it creates the group, and then people start getting into the group, or into the team, it puts them into the group automatically. But you were just saying they are not forced to stay in the group. So when they leave the group, you still have to remove them if you want them removed, or does it automatically?
Automatically.
So once they leave the group, the team, it takes them out of the group.
Oh, in the Office 365 group. You know what? That's a good question. I should check on that. I'm not sure.
I just want to know.
I don't know.
Management-wise, what
Yeah.
you're doing, with that, how do you manage that?
Right, because it does automatically put them in there. I don't know the answer to that.
Do you manually have to do it, or if they take it out?
That's a good question.
It might depend on how the group is set up through the
directory or something like that.
Well, so with the chicken and the egg, so the other side of this is if you create the group first, you are going to get the difference, a key difference is that you're going to see that group like in Outlook where it has the groups listed, you'll see it listed. If you create it from Teams and the group gets created from Teams, it won't be listed in Outlook that way. So it just kind of depends on what, some people don't want it to show up in Outlook as an Outlook group. So there's.
Afterwards, like retroactively, like you create the teams and then the group, can you make the group be seen?
It can be wired up. There's like a whole process for it, and I have a link to someone's blog that explains how to do it if you want to know. Not something I've done, but I
SharePoint, butterflies, and rainbows.
yeah, exactly.
That, right?
That auto magic stuff, just, you know, all behind the scenes.
Microsoft Teams and Office 365 groups were very separate things for a while.
Mhm.
Like, Yammer's its own thing. So they used to be very separate. You could go create a Microsoft team and include this stuff in an Office 365 group and include this stuff. And very quickly became clear that like they kind of have overlap. And so now when you create one, you get the other, or if you create the other, you get the other one. You know, and they're tied together.
What happens when you migrate? So right now we're on-prem, so we're going to be moving to SharePoint online for Office 365. Will it create a team? So any site and groups that I already have created in SharePoint, now will it just automatically?
It won't automatically
So
create
I
teams.
have to be already migrated.
That's
and
part
then
of
it
it.
does it.
That's part of the planning process.
Mhm.
Here's what I have now, here's what's capable in the cloud. Do I want to lift and shift or rethink and kind of migrate?
I would not do that. I would not have teams automatically created when you migrate. I would make sure that you don't do that.
You have to determine if you want a publishing site or if you want a modern site, you know.
And we're going to talk about it here in a minute. Oh, naming standards and governance actually is the next thing. So I was telling you I had a story about Moss. So when Moss came about, there was all the hype that, hey, guess what? Our users can be site owners now, and they get to own their own sites and their content and their libraries, and they get to just see, we can just let them go do it. And was anyone in an organization that did that? Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, you're smiling because you felt my pain. Like, I'm traumatized. It was awful. It is a disaster. So your users are just like creating things, just like you were saying with Teams, like, oh, what's this button do? Oh, I've got this new app. And they start doing things, and then before you know it, you have these SharePoint sites with these weird names and spaces with %20s, and then you have these document libraries with all these symbols in them, and then and you're like, what happened? And this says accounting, and this says ACCT dash. Like, what does that mean? Nobody knows. There's no descriptions on anything. So then 3 years down the road, I'm the consultant sitting there going, does anyone know if anyone uses this? Does anyone know what this was for? No? Okay. Bueller. So naming standards, I'm telling you right from the get-go, you want to make sure you plan, you get your governance, naming standards. It sounds so simple, and it's just like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal, but it really is. Like, Teams, because it's one of these fluid things, much like Moss was, where you're gonna just let your people do whatever they want, right? So you want to make sure when you go into it, you have control of the reins before your users take off. So when they're creating a team, they know if this is a project team, then it starts with a P dash because it's a project, and then that way, if I would also require a description. Always require a description. Why is this a team? What's the purpose? Where, in some cases, because it is totally feasible to have a team for a short, maybe like a 1 month, maybe an end of year processing or something like that, where a bunch of people need to come together and work on something for a month. Might be a very short-term thing, but how easy is it to be this short-term thing and then everybody just stops looking at it and forgets about it, and then all this content and everything is just sitting out there. If we have a description, we know, oh, this was for 1998, I think we can delete it, right? Naming standards and governance, big deal. Do it from the beginning. You won't regret it, I promise. If you do regret it at the end, let me know. I'd be happy to know why. Just let me know.
Well, my next question, the next question always comes out is, how do I enforce it?
Yeah. So governance from the beginning. Then you have to have, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but you're going to have like a Teams administrator, right? You probably, right? Teams administrator. So Teams administrator, and then what you do is you have champions. And you empower your people to whip people into shape and keep those standards, right? So you have your champions drive it. And then it's not IT, because nobody wants to hear what IT, and nobody listens to IT, right? I have this really big on the slide because, like, again, like I've probably repeated it too many times at this point, but it's a collaborative workspace. It's a collaboration workspace. It's a place where you go to work and do things, right? Like, try to shift from this Outlook, sending emails, hunkered down in my own world, to this collaborative, because what you're doing in Teams, you're modifying these files, you're making these changes to these libraries or these lists or whatever. Everybody in that team is seeing that real time right now. It doesn't have to be emailed. It doesn't have to wait until someone else gets back from PTO to forward it on again. It doesn't get lost. It's in Teams. Also, browser, mobile, desktop app, you can use it on all. How am I doing on time?
We are at 7:05.
Okay.
So we can do like another 40 minutes.
Sure.
And can I add one thing?
Go.
I interject too much. Just,
You say whatever you want.
a good way to think about Teams, this has resonated with me very well, because we actually, we did not win a project because we were offering a solution, customers looking for something different. So the scenario was, one of our customers was looking for a collaborative solution that was conversation-centered. And we were pushing Fuse, which is our intranet as a service. And that whole scenario is based on SharePoint, where you go to a SharePoint site. It has a home page, and then you have to go click things and do things, right? The center piece of that workspace is whatever the people put on the home page. That's no longer a conversation center. That's a good way to think about Teams. We're talking. And hey, since we're talking, I have this link, I have this file, I have this event, I have all these things that are related to what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation drives the rest of the content. Way to think about it.
So, yeah.
Okay, so as part of that, so one of the big things with our, I know you're going to start to tell us, so maybe you can either put that into what you talk about. So between Outlook and Teams, or even Slack, or any of those, that I'm using another one that a vendor company has, I can think of the name. And everything we put in a request, and there'll be a little conversation, and then it filters down, and it's God knows where. And now, if you don't have, you can't find anything. Whereas in Outlook, things are, you can put a search word and it'll pull up all your emails and has that word in it. But if somebody doesn't quite use the right thing, it just seems, not even just Teams, but it's just very hard to apply to. But, so people aren't as easy wanting to adopt to get some of the hesitation.
Right. I'll show you right here.
Our emails are still hanging around since the
My favorite thing about Teams is this search box right here. So when I search, over here on the left, see where it says messages? So if somebody had sent me a message that said, "You're the ultimate person in the world," then right now that message would come up because the ultimate is in that message. So you can search messages, you can search people, and this filters, or here you can see there's my file.
You know how years ago the search capability in SharePoint was really crappy?
This is better.
It's good.
This is a lot better, and the search functionality, to be totally fair, the search functionality in SharePoint has totally improved since we've gotten to Office 365. And the Teams search, and actually I've got this tip sheet here, and I've got a link off my blog where you can download this tip sheet that I made for free. But I've got all of these like shortcuts, and so there's like search shortcuts and all kinds of things that makes it really easy.
You got a blank screen again?
Of course we do. Okay. Let's see.
The other cool thing about it is that it's historic. So if you come in on a project or something late, you get access to it. As well as like the messages themselves. Even if you know, like email chain would go, someone will forward it to someone else, and then you're dropped off, and then it doesn't lose back,
Or it gets buried in an email, or a message of a message.
Right. And then in Teams, though, all that, as long as you're part of that team, all that information is saved and stored with everybody.
Yeah, so those forked email conversations, that's a really good point. So I know, and we're good? Okay. So I know in my corporate environment, this is what happens. Mel, go work on this thing and go do it, and then email the team when you're done. Okay. I go do the thing, and I go email the team when I'm done. Then what happens is then there's a reply to all, where everybody sees it. Then there's a forward to someone else, and then someone else is replying to two people and maybe added another person. Now we have all of these different versions of this conversation happening, and then these people in the first group are making a decision and like, oh, this is what needs to be happening. And then there's a whole other conversation happening that nobody even knows about. So in Teams, where we have these conversations in this chat, what Brandon was saying was what everybody can see this. So if I reply here, then, uh-oh.
Could you try a darker thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or is that just you?
It's darker on this screen, it's just like that one's white.
Well, it looks fine on the TVs, right? But
Yeah.
I think it's the TV's lighter.
Let's see.
sorry.
I don't really remember where the
Profile on the upper right.
settings are.
And then if you go to.
Oh, there we go.
Dark. Close that out. See how that happens. It's better.
Is that better?
That's great. It fades, it's easier to see the script.
Okay. Sure. Alrighty. Okay, so the forked conversation. So, for example, in a project, if you have someone, I was doing a SharePoint migration project last fall, and so I had some developers because I was migrating a whole lot of reports that were connecting to as like SSRS reports and Power Pivots, and we were connecting to databases, and so I had developers that were helping me with the migration, because each report we then had to repoint to this new database, and we had to manually touch every single one that we moved. In the process of this migration that was happening, one of my 3 developers decides to get a new job. Thanks a lot, dude. Right? We're on this like timeline. We have to have this migration done because they're turning off the servers, like turning them off. And now one of my 3 developers to manually touch every single report in my environment, hundreds and hundreds of reports, is now gone. So I was panicking, right? So now when this new team member comes on, I'm scrambling. I'm like, okay, everything that Naresh was doing. Okay, so he was doing these things. These are some of the emails of information that I had. Here's some links that might be beneficial to you. Here's some other information from this meeting. All this information is all over the place. And then it's IMs constantly. Hey, Mel, I ran into this. Do you know what's going on here? Do you know... let me check my emails or my OneNotes, right? It was a mess. In Teams, this new developer comes on, all the files, all the meeting notes, all of the conversations, everything is right there. All he has to do is scroll through the conversations, look at the meeting notes. So this meeting notes tab, I'm kind of jumping, we're kind of going all over the place today, but we're just going here. But so when you have a meeting in Teams, I'll back up for a second. You have a meeting in Teams. When you create the meeting, so if I'm going to schedule a new meeting here, I can say that I want it to happen in a channel. I can directly invite people. I can do both, which Brandon really doesn't like it when I do that, because then he gets a lot of alerts on his phone when meetings happen. So I wouldn't suggest it. You can do all this. Okay, so then when they join the meeting, so now my entire team is, because I've added this meeting to a channel, so now everybody's in there. If that meeting was created just for, and I added just Brandon, then that history wouldn't be there when a new developer came in, because that was just between me and Brandon. If I share that meeting to the channel, then that history is going to be there. Okay? Trying to keep track of everything here. All right, so when I join a meeting, let's use the 6 p.m. one. So when I join a meeting, so really cool new feature. Is the blur the background? Oh yeah, I forgot. Brandon's gonna get, okay, so Brandon just joined the meeting too. Brandon's gonna turn on his video. Yes, you are. His face is gonna get really big, guys, on this projector. There he is. There, yep, there he is. Okay, so he is joined from his phone, joined in. He has all of the capabilities. He can talk, we can hear him, we can obviously see him. Even so, he's on his phone, I'm on my laptop, someone else can be in the browser. We can share meeting notes. So I can start a conversation, I can start chatting. You know how sometimes you're in Skype and let me drop that link in the chat. So there's you have the chats going, so he can get all of that from his phone right now. I don't even need to know where he's at. If, for instance, he's supposed to be at work and he's going to call in off of his phone and be at the gym or something instead, There's the opportunity to blur your background. So you can you blur your background? So when you blur the background, it makes it so you can't see anything behind you. So it doesn't really work, I think, with your Windows, maybe.
It's dependent upon the webcam and the hardware because of the machine you're running. If my work laptop doesn't have the blur my background option, but my Surface does.
And then there's a new feature too, where they're rolling out, you can do custom backgrounds. So you can do like, you can do like your business logo. You can do, I was in one that had like a beach in the background.
I had a meeting yesterday, and we had a Earth space.
Yeah, he's just floating in space.
Oh my God, that's a really cool poster in the background. I go, what is that? We're just drinking.
Yeah, really
Right.
good for productivity, right?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
What happens if you record a meeting?
So if you record a meeting, cool thing. So when you were saying you break up your meetings and like to record this, same thing, automatically gets sent to Sway. And so it's automatically upload or stream. So it's automatically uploaded there. You can access the videos through Teams. So you can break it up. You can name them separate things, all of that. So that automatically happens.
Which is nice because with Skype, which is what I'm doing tonight, I recorded on this machine. Once I've recorded it, it has to process. Then I have to remember to go put it somewhere. And I have to remember to upload it to YouTube. Whereas Teams will, you hit record, start and stop, and it's automatically in the chat. And it's automatically out there on the stream somewhere as well.
Yeah, so you can see right here that we had a call. So if I was recording it, you would see that right here. You would get the link to it, all of that right here in the chat. So then when that new developer comes in, I can say, you can watch all of our working sessions if you want. Yeah, there, if you get bored over the weekend, you can see everything we've been doing.
Can you invite people outside of the team?
You can. You can also, you
They
can.
become part of the group or the team after that, or is it just like a temporary thing for that particular meeting?
So it depends on how you set it up. So you can have a team that you allow external guest access and that they can, so you can have an external guest in a team. You can have that. Or you can invite an external guest to a meeting just as a one-off and they're just an attendee.
And see, that's kind of nice. What we lost that because we work with vendors that are, our vendors, and they can't come into our Slack.
Right.
So now we have to go out to Dropbox or, we can't work internally, whereas SharePoint, I have sites where I actually go share and invite to share outside if it's turned on.
So right here, I didn't really intend on showing this, but I will. So right here, you can see I'm a guest. So Collab 365, they put on, they've been doing virtual summits. And they did a Teams virtual summit, Power Apps, Flow. They've been doing a ton of them. And so I attended the Teams virtual summit. So this is where have you guys heard of Microsoft Live Events? I'm such a nerd. I'm getting so excited about this. Okay, Microsoft Live Events. Okay, think Facebook Live, but for Teams. Okay. So what is happening is that you're going to be able to host webinars, things like that, right from Teams. So I am not, I don't belong to Collab 365 or anything like that. They gave me a guest link. They gave me guest access. So this is my guest access to their Teams environment. So this is the team. These are the channels. So here you can see they have this was for the Flow. When they had the Flow conference, so they have different docs out here. So this is all someone else's environment. I don't do anything in this but consume it. I have a yeah. So I don't know the name exactly, but if you want to email me, I can make sure I send it to you on LinkedIn or something. But Collab 365, or if you look up like hashtag Collab 365, they're always doing, like on LinkedIn and stuff, they're always doing events. But if you want a direct link, definitely just email me and I'll get you the info for sure. Oh yeah. Okay. So since we're kind of jumping around, I want to go back just for a second to kind of explain teams a little bit, because there's a lot. Like, you're looking at this and there's a lot going on here. So let's start over here. This is kind of like your quick launch, like your launcher, right? This is where you're gonna kind of have like your workhorse. Think of this right here where it's your teams. Think of each one of these as a filing cabinet. So we're gonna go back in time, right? And you have a filing cabinet. So I have a filing cabinet called Demo Gods. And in that filing cabinet, I have a top drawer. My top drawer is general. Inside that general drawer, I have file folders. These file folders, conversations, files, wikis, so on and so forth, right? Conversations, as we talked about, that's the team chat. That's where all those communications are going. So think of that as your like your group emails. Instead of emailing the entire meeting, you're going to have these chats right here. Under files, you can drag and drop files in here. So if I had something on my desktop, I can just easily grab it and drop it in. While that's happening, you can see that it said uploading there and it was spinning. That is uploading to SharePoint right now. So right here, this open in SharePoint, I can go out to the SharePoint site. You can see right here, sites, the Demo Gods, it's the Demo Gods site. And right here, it's the shared documents on the Demo Gods site. It is just a SharePoint library, okay? You can add tabs to your teams. So here I added a tab just to a SharePoint site. So this is just your SharePoint site. So instead of having to open the browser and have all, the idea of Teams is to minimize your switching between applications. So you can put any web-based URL in a tab here. Think Jira, Zendesk, SharePoint. You can put those links in here. One that I like is Training Plus. This is a third-party app that we use. So I like to do a Training Plus tab in the team. So like if you have, every team is going to have a general channel. So think of every filing cabinet has a junk drawer. Okay, so your general will have all of your stuff. I like to put Training Plus because now I have training right here in the app for my users. They can click if they want to learn about Flow. They can click in here and watch it right from within Teams. They have not left Teams at all. Okay. You can even embed. You could embed a YouTube video or any training videos. If you have an LMS with training videos, you can embed it right in here. So same kind of thing, it's embedded right within my Teams tab. So now my users are only leaving when they have to. This is our workspace. This is our collaboration environment. This is our new culture. How are you guys doing? Training Plus is an app that we use. So what they do is they host all of their training videos out in Azure. So we're a reseller of the product, and so but the product itself, they keep all of those videos updated. So as the apps update and all of that stuff, they're keeping it updated, and you just make sure that the video is on your page, embedded on your page, and it'll always be relevant content. So that's why we like them. Yep.
They can watch the video and it'll show them how to do it. Okay, all within the app.
Kind of like SharePoint.
Exactly. They can do it for SharePoint, or they started in SharePoint, right? So now we're.
I didn't mean to take you out.
No, you're fine.
A way for you to do your own custom videos embedded into the.
I mean, you could, if you had a video, you can, so right here, when I add a tab, these are all, so down here you can see, these are all different like third-party apps that come with connectors to Teams. They're always adding new ones. So if there's a very popular tool out there, I would say it's likely you're gonna see it here at some point. But so there's all of these, but worst case scenario, right here, you've got website. So anything that has a URL, you can add as a tab. I can add Google. If I can type, I could add Google. Oh, geez. Seriously. It wanted the S, yep. That's why I did it that way, because I would sit there and look silly. So there you go. See, anything that has a URL can be embedded right here in a tab.
The SharePoint tab that you added, was that were you able to browse your SharePoint, or was it you just did it at the website and added the link?
Yes, so I did it just as the site, but like right here's the document library. So if I go into the document, there's the document library.
No, like when you added it as a tab, so if you hit the plus sign over there, and you might add another SharePoint site. Oh, I see.
So, okay, so there's two different ways to do it. So if you click add SharePoint, it's going to, this is showing me things from my Demo Gods SharePoint site. So it's going to show you things from that specific, so the team that you're in, it's going to show you from that SharePoint site. But if you have a public SharePoint site and you want to link it to a team, just do it as a website and just put it as a URL. Good questions. What else?
There's a conversation happening. What are all the resources in the world that support that? With those tabs or channels or whatever. But you'll still run into the Teams. It's the same situation we're in with every other software application. When do I create a tab versus channel versus team?
Too many options, right?
And yeah, and my thought is always create it when you need it. If you don't need it, don't create it yet. And that's way too easy to say. Easier said than done, right?
But also, I think that's where, let's go back to the slideshow here before I run out of time. So this slide is the golden slide, you guys. You need to make sure you plan from the get-go. Like, so this is where you, like, people are trying to figure out, when do I create it? You answer those questions before they come up. You tell them when they create a team. You tell them when they create a channel over a team. You tell them. You don't let your users drive that train, because you will crash and burn. Don't let them drive that. Network health Teams runs, it's all on the network. So if you have latency in your network, if you have intermittent connection issues, you have to have good connection for it to work. I'm connecting to to SharePoint. That's the back end. If you don't have connection to it, the entire user experience is dead in the water. So before you even think about rolling Teams out, make sure you do some stress testing on your network. Make sure your network can really handle it. Use cases. I legitimately sit down and say, okay, as a help desk person, I need to be able to do help desk tickets and not leave Teams. And so how do I do that? So now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to strategize, okay, how do I facilitate a team for help desk? What does that, they're gonna need knowledge base as a tab. They're gonna need Jira probably. Obviously I use Jira a lot, right? They're gonna need a Jira tab so they can do all of their tickets. So you're gonna think of all of that from the get-go. So you wanna sit in the seat of every one of your users and plan that out for them. Again, you are driving the train. Do not let them drive the train. Then onboarding. When you're onboarding, leadership buy-in is key. Again, you can embed videos and everything in these tabs or in the conversations. How impactful is it to have a team and you're like, hey guys, we have this awesome new tool that's going to make your life so much better, and Skype is crap and we're getting rid of it. And look at the CIO, he's on board too. Look at this awesome video he has, and he's just going to get on here and tell us how all the roses and popcorn and cherries and gumballs are going to come our way, right? So people are going to get excited. You have to get your users excited. I think of it just like a kindergarten class. Those kindergartners don't even know what they're excited about, but they're excited because you're excited. Your users are exactly the same. I promise you. Like, you're laughing because you know it's true, right?
No, and then you have the same effect when you have the opposite from that, from the leadership.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yep. And so that's why you have to have the leadership. You have to have the leaders. And you know how you get your leaders on board? Well, you're already using Microsoft Office, right? We're all here because we're already using Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Well, Skype's going away. Teams is part of that subscription. We're not paying anything extra for it. Why are you not buying in? It's free. That's how you sell it to leadership. Now, they're going to be happy to make that video for you. Promise you. And we talked about champions. Train a group of people, a group, take a small group, depending on, I would say, make sure each area has a person to go to. Because they're going to talk to their friend and hear advice on how to do things and the right way to do things from a friend or a colleague in their group before they're going to listen to you in IT tell them how to do it. Guaranteed, every time, that's how it happens. So you find a champion in each one of those organizations or each one of those groups. You know who they are. You know who those smart people are. You know who those people are that like to get their hands dirty in little projects and like to feel important. You know who they are. Every group has them. Pull them out, give them something fun to do. Let them be the champion. Empower them, okay? Then, yeah.
Do you allow people to create their own SharePoint sites and Office 365 groups and things, or are you on the request side?
Well, it depends on what hat I'm wearing today. So we have a consulting firm. So as a consultant, I like our clients to own their sites, right? Because I can't be there all of the time to run their site and administer it and all of that. In the corporate world, I work at Wells Fargo as well, and in the corporate world, I control that. It's a situation where you have so many users, and the delegation of responsibility is there for a reason. That's why you're in an enterprise environment, so it's different. And as a consultant, I'm dealing with mostly small to medium-sized businesses, and I'm handing their sites off to them because I need them to be empowered to know how to manage their own systems. Does that help or answer it?
I talked to a PFP premium, one of the field engineers, and he was like, why are you guys setting parameters on who can?
Oh, yeah.
Those 365 groups. I said, well, the proliferation is getting out of control.
Right.
So I'm sure it's different environments, but
Yeah.
the Microsoft, from them, it's don't stop anybody from doing whatever they need.
Yeah, but I tell you what, that's what some of them say, but that's not what they all say. And I'll tell you from the conferences that I've been going to and from the speaking circles and from that kind of stuff, I will tell you that nobody's encouraging that.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing that in the real world.
I'm not hearing it.
Yeah. So you can tell them to take that
Numerous laws.
out the back door.
Tell you how to use a power
Right.
tool and shut it off.
Yeah. No, you're fine. This is great. This is great.
If you let everyone run amok and create whatever they want, what you'll find is that organically, which I think is that term that just kind of means everything will work itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the groups or the teams or the sites that have value and people are going to, it'll be pretty obvious, and then there'll be the one site where every file uploaded with the sub-site for some reason, and there's no activity, so. And we're in the cloud now. When everything was on-prem and it was my server resources that were being affected by 3,000 teams being created.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'm concerned about that, but if it's in the cloud, 3,000 teams is 3,000 teams. It's Microsoft's problem, their hardware, not mine. Yeah, if people can't find things, I want to help with that.
Right.
That's where my concern comes in, from that perspective. But
Yeah,
it used to be
it's,
about,
they want
it used to
help,
be
they
about
get in a
server
mess, and then they
resources.
want help.
Mm-hmm.
Then they call you and you're like, no, now you want it. Yeah, so that's what I think the real problem is that it just gets out of control, and then somebody needs help or, guidance, and then you have to go figure out what they did.
That's why it's important to keep a hold of that from the beginning, because I see the writing on the wall just like in 2007. Like it's gonna happen again because it's the same thing. It's a cycle, right? And we're trying to give our users all of this freedom, but we all know that too much freedom is bad for all of us.
There's idealists and then realists.
Right.
We used to have a government. They just lock it down. Like we only could get to a few of the apps, but all those apps you showed, we can't.
Oh yeah.
To most of those.
So I will say that it's really, really important training. In your rollout, it's important to keep that excitement. Think about those kindergartners, right? Keep them excited. And just because you have to keep your users engaged in all of that. So all of these things where like things are like locked down and people can't get to it or whatever, you need to like facilitate, the organization needs to be facilitating a conversation and excitement. Look at this new feature released in here, and today we're going to give you access to this app. And that conversation needs to be open, and you just need to keep engaging your users. I want to be really respectful of your time here. So I'll send you these slides so you can send them. Good question.
LinkedIn.
There you go. All right, we're good.
Okay. Somebody was taking notes. So as a thank you guys so much for your time and your questions and everything. Thank you for letting me come out. I said I have been blogging. I've got a couple blogs that I really wanted to point out to you. So fully utilize Teams to enhance your business. This one has some really, really good information about like the overall channels, tabs, the defining it, like the nuts and bolts of kind of the what you need to know about Teams. There's a lot of information in this one. Then the next one, upgrading to Teams. So this one is more about making that transition from Skype to Teams and what that looks like, your different modes, how you can achieve that. So this one here, you've got coexistence mode, so you can see all of this information. So this one is specific to that switching from Skype to Teams. So if you're in that boat, there's a lot of good information here. And then for you, Eric, your governance template, this and the name of the blog was in the beginning. It's kind of off, but so that's why the link is in the slides for you. But this is about, because I wrote a blog series on migrations and like everything you need to do to prepare for a migration, right? And some information on some of the different tools that are available. So there's checklists and stuff out here, but this SharePoint governance template, this template actually works very, very well as a Teams governance template as well. As SharePoint is the back end of Teams, the same, you're gonna want to really think about some of the same things. So at least the starting point, there's a document there for you, and I'll get that link out to you. And I think there's my information. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much. I will say, on the governance note, one of my big projects right now is a Power App. So that's lots of customers who, when they're turning off at their tenant level, they're disabling the ability to create. And they're doing that to avoid this proliferation of artifacts everywhere. And instead of going to like the Teams admin center or just the Teams app and create a team, we're pushing everybody to this Power App, where they through a wizard say, I want to do this and this and this, and then they just fill out a form and they click go, and it'll create whatever it should be. Maybe that's a team, maybe it's an Office 365 group. We don't really let them choose, do you want a team or a group? Because then we're like, well, I don't know, which is which, and what do I get with each? And it's very confusing, right? So you kind of guide them through, well, what are you trying to do? What do you want? You need email? No? Okay. So no Office 365 group meeting. Maybe it's just a SharePoint site, really. Depends on what they want to do. So there's some cool stuff we're doing in that realm. It's just kind of, decisions are great, but when, if I work for a financial institution, my core business is not SharePoint, Teams, and all this stuff. I'm an accountant. I don't care what, I need to do this. Create what I need. Don't confuse me. Kind of part of what's out of it. All right, so now he jumps and calls up.